All right, hello and welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. We are going to be discussing the Create Task updates that College Board has made, but more importantly, we're going to review the changes to the UTeach AP CSP curriculum. Joining us tonight is Leslie Brommer and Yvonne Loga, both on our CS team. Leslie is our CS curriculum designer, so she'll be answering any questions in the chat box. If you have them, please drop them in. A lot of good information in this webinar as well. If you want to get the slide deck, you can take a picture of that bit.ly link on the screen, or you can just go to bit.ly/UTeach Create Task, and you can get this slide deck as well. All right, so what are we going to discuss here over the next 30 minutes? We're going to start off by talking about why College Board has changed the Create Performance task. What are the changes they made? How we have updated our UTeach Create Task module in our curriculum, and then I'll answer any questions you might have. But at this point, College Board's done a couple webinars. I know there's been a lot of information out there, so just want to go through some of this. But more importantly, I want to focus on what UTeach has done to our curriculum so that your students have the best chance to have a really good grade on this Create Task. All right, so why the change? So the change is the reason for the change is pretty simple. Yes, it's because of ChatGPT. We don't have to look any deeper than that. All the ChatGPT and other generative AI tools out there really did a number on the Create task this past year for College Board, not only on the coding aspect. Believe it or not, that's not what College Board was that mad about, was the programs writing code, but it's doing the written response for the children. Therefore, the children really can never evidence that they know what their program is doing. So because of that, College Board has decided to make changes to the way we facilitate the Create task, and we're going to review that, okay? So like I just said, all of these changes, all right, are made to address the end of year exam, okay? And this is the big change that they're making, okay? Students are now permitted to use these AI tools. That's right. I did not say something. I'm not crazy. All right. College Board has said ChatGPT is okay. And just to let you know, this is not as outlandish as it first seems. Okay. I attended a CSA conference with industry leaders from Google, Microsoft, Amazon, all these places, Oracle, and there was college professors there and high school teachers. And we discussed ChatGPT. And to my amazement at the time, all the people who worked in industry said, you can't stop this, just have the kids cite it. And when I was in that meeting, I'm like, no way College Board is going to do that. And that's exactly what College Board did. And as we talk more through that tonight, you'll realize that this is not that big of a deal, okay? For a number of reasons that we'll discuss it, whether your students collaborate on a program code with another student or with an AI chat box, they're still collaborating with some other form of intelligence. So we're going to talk about that tonight. Yeah, AI tools are now going to be allowed. So how has the test switched? How has it changed? Nothing is happening to the multiple choice questions. It's still 70 questions. They still have 120 minutes to do that. Okay, now, what is switching up is the Create Performance task. You will have to do an in-class element. That's when they're going to have to do a lot of the stuff they already do. Make the program, do the video, okay, do the PDF of their program code. But then they're also going to have to do something called a personalized project reference. We'll talk a little bit more about that. All right. And then on the actual exam day, they are going to get 60 minutes to answer 4 written response questions. So because of the ChatGPT being used to do the written response of kids' work, that is why on test day, they will be doing 4 written response questions, and we'll talk about it more in detail. They're going to be random questions, but they're all going to be from 4 different categories. So in that category, there'll be subsets. All right, they'll choose a question from those subsets. I don't know, there might be 1 question for each subset, maybe 2. All right, but it'll make it so that the test really does have random questions for each student in the room. All right, so let's go in quickly with just what the changes are. Okay, this is a great slide deck. I don't want to really talk about what's staying the same, but I do want to point this out. Look at the first thing. What is staying the same? The content, the skills, the course is the same. Okay, it is not changing at all. It is just the way we're doing the create task. The task itself, the programming aspects, pretty much straight on the same. But we are not changing up the course. So please do not panic like, oh my God, they're going to be changing the curriculum on me. I've been teaching with this curriculum for 3 years. Now I have something new. No, no, no. It's just our one module we're going to update tonight and show you how to use it. All right. And it's not even that much different than what you guys have already been doing if you've taught using our create task module in the past. So what are the changes? So first and foremost, it is going to be a reduction in class number of hours to do the create performance task because they don't have to do the written response. So it's going to be reduced from 12 hours to 9, and I'm going to talk more about those 9 hours in detail on the next slide. All right. That written response portion of the exam is now going to be on the end of year course exam day. All right. The written response questions will be unique on every form of the exam. Unique, meaning different. Okay. Scoring guidelines will not be available in advance. Okay. We do have a scoring guideline. All right. There are 6 rows to the scoring guidelines. The first 2 are on the program that the student's going to have to do, and that's the same. I'll show you that tonight. But those next 4 rows, each one is going to be one of those written response questions. There's no scoring guidelines available in advance. Okay. Teachers can use practice questions with their students to practice for the written response. All right. And I'm going to talk about it in more detail in the next slides. They're going to have to create a personalized project reference. That is a fancy, fancy, fancy way of saying they're just going to paste their code segments on this personalized project reference sheet. Okay. The same code segments that they used to put into the digital portfolio, like in those 2 spots, the 2 calls for your list, the 2 calls for your procedure, where it's made and then where you call it. So that's pretty much going to be the same. We're going to talk about how they have to do it. And then on the actual exam test day, okay, they are going to get handed this PPR, this personalized project reference. That's right. The AP coordinator is going to be responsible for printing these out, walking into the room and handing this piece of paper to every one of these students. Okay. It'll work. Trust me. Okay. Now, once the kids get this, they'll be able to answer those written response questions using this piece of paper and nothing else. So you can see already how they've kind of done a really good job of making these written response questions, so that a chat bot, can't do it. ChatGPT can't do it. All right. Now, changes to the end of year course exam. We kind of already hit on this. 1 hour dedicated to these written response and the 4 questions. Okay. They're each going to be based on one of these following categories, and I'm going to go into these categories in detail in a moment. All right. So 9 hours to complete the following 3 items. Now, here's something that I want to clarify to all my UTeach teachers out there, because a lot of you started with us way back in the day, pre-COVID. Everyone kind of remembers what it was like during COVID to have to facilitate these classes. There was no such thing as in-class time. All right. And College Board kind of just put out a lot of conflicting messages, but there is no more conflicting messages. It is a minimum of 9 hours of class time in the classroom, your class, not for homework. Okay. Not over a break. Okay. Not, I'm going to give it to them for homework and keep going through the curriculum. No, 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 not anymore. Right. It is, you're going to take 9 hours of your class and you're going to do all of this work. Okay. So I just want you guys to be aware that's 9 hours to do the program. Okay. We've done the program before in the past. They're going to have to make up their PDF of their program code. All right. And then they're going to have to make their video. All right. And then they're going to have to make up that personalized project reference sheet. Now, very quickly, what can the students work on together and what can they not work on together? All right, you can look in the CED, which we've updated, and it's going to be in the assignments that we review in a second. But the students are allowed to collaborate with each other on the coding part. And that collaborative partner can be ChatGPT. So yeah, you're a student. If you're a student, you can literally work with ChatGPT to write your code. Okay. And really what they're doing is they're forcing like CS education to totally shift, right? Because learn to code kind of just became this non-essential part of the world. Because if ChatGPT is going to write the code for us, then what are our coders going to do? Our coders are going to have to be able to read code, be able to interpret code by reading it, not writing it, not building the house, but just by going into the house and looking around at it, right? It's totally different skill. And they want more conceptual thinkers. So That's why they do not care if your student works with a chat GPT to do the program or another student. Now, after that, the students can't work together. You're going to see in our curriculum, we have like practice written response questions. The students cannot work on those together. Okay. They have to do their video. They cannot work together. They have to do a PDF of their program code. They cannot work together. And a lot of this is just repetitive, right? We know this already from teaching the course in the past. All right. But now here's something that me and Leslie were talking about earlier, and we kind of wanted to, we really don't want the kids to use ChatGPT if they really can't, right? So you have to give them in class time to do this, meaning they're using the computers in your classroom on your school network. Now, I know that school networks, a lot of them block ChatGPT and all these other AI bots. So if your school network is going to block it, your students can't work with a ChatGPT, and kind of gives you a good excuse why they're not, and they're just going to work with another living, breathing human mammal. But there is another way that you can stop them from using ChatGPT, and that is when they're not in your class working on the create task, whatever that period of class is, disable the assignment and then enable it the next day when they come in. Now they can't get into the assignment at all. It's not like they can go home and then work with ChatGPT because like you're not going to notice that they really logged in for 3 minutes and did something to their work. So that was just something else to think about. Like, yeah, just because College Board says it's okay to use artificial intelligence, you're still the teacher. Doesn't mean that you have to. And if they're like, well, I want to, you can say, well, listen, the school blocks it. What do you want me to do? All right. And just to let you know, ChatGPT has become a little more ethical. If you literally type in there, make me a Python program for the create performance task for AP CSP, it will tell you, I will not do that. I will not do that test for you. Something similar to that. All right. And like I said, let's not think I think there might be a paid feature coming in the future where they charge people $20 for the answer. But for right now, it's going to help you guys out. All right. So what is this personalized project reference? What's this sheet of paper that your students are going to create and then put in, be printed out for them on the exam test day? Okay, it's exactly what we said. It's just their code segments, their list and their procedure. The two pictures, one of the list, then where they call it, one of the procedure, and then where they call it. Okay, now here's some things to remember. Okay, your students can totally mess this up, this one little sheet, and get a 0 on the create performance task. And here's how. Number one, if they put any comments on this particular document, it'll automatically invalidate it and they will not be able to do the create performance test. They will sit there on test day for an hour staring at their desk or sleeping, whatever they want to do. All right. So that's the first thing I want you to remember. Can they put code in their PDF, when they're printing out their whole thing, or when they do that, that's cool, but not on this PPR. Nothing, not their name, not their address, not a pep talk to themselves. Go Joey, you're going to do good today. We believe in each other. No, man, don't anything. Comment codes automatically. And it's going to be up to that AP coordinator in the school who hands them the piece of paper to be the last line of defense to make sure there's no comments on there. All right. How else can you students kind of mess this up and just kill their chances of getting any points on the create task? Okay. They don't submit this PPR. If they do not submit a PPR in the digital portfolio, okay, they will not be able to do the create performance task. It doesn't matter if Doogie Howser is the student and he has memorized his program, okay, and he's going to go in there and says, I don't need a PPR to look at my code. I'm good. I memorized my code. Doogie Howser will not be able to do a create performance task. Okay? And then I don't know if he'd ever become a doctor. All right. So this is what we're talking about. We've done this in the past. They're just going to take their 2 program code segments. All right. They're going to take a screen capture of it. They're going to put it right into here. And then on the test day, this gets printed out, handed to the student to answer the written response. Now, there is one other thing I want to make sure you guys are aware of. So now they can use ChatGPT. They can still use stuff that you give them. If you give them a starter code to use, they can use that as their create performance task if they obviously add new functionality to it. We've done this in the past, okay? But it is now more important than ever to cite where it came from. That is the only way they'll get in trouble for plagiarism. is if they do not cite it. So at the bottom here, I give you literally what you should put down. If I give a starter code to my students and then they all, I give them, I don't know, like a data set program, and they all then go in and take this basic data set program and turn it into create performance tasks. As long as they all put this code was provided as starter code by my teacher, they're totally good. All right, same thing. They go to ChatGPT, they ask for some code, they want to use it, and then maybe add some new functionality to it. Same thing. This code was generated using ChatGPT. Okay, very important. They need to cite these things. Okay, so let's make sure that we remind them to do that. All right, so now this written response exam component. All right, you can review for this in a number of different ways. Now, the way that I'm going to show you tonight is we built an assignment in our create task module for you to review. All right, but remember, this is review for the thing they're going to do on the actual exam day. All right, so like when you're doing the create task module, I'm going to show you tonight, this particular assignment, you wouldn't want to do it when they're doing the create tasks, that you would want to do it later on when you're preparing them for the actual exam day. All right, but we know this. We can go to AP Classroom. There's plenty of example questions, practice exam questions. All right. Now, as a teacher, you want to make sure that they have done some examples. All right. You want to make sure that prior to submitting their create performance task, and that's the key. Okay. You cannot give them feedback on written response questions until they have finished the create performance task. Okay. So I want you guys to remember that. All right. That is one of the things you need to remember. Now, teachers may
Jason,
not. Go ahead, Leslie. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Leslie. Go ahead.
real quick, when you say finished the create performance task, what we mean is submitted as final in the digital portfolio, not just say, hey, I'm done. It has to, they have to have clicked all the buttons, the attestations in the digital portfolio, submitted as final.
All right, and thank you, Leslie. Leslie read my bullet point. I'm not good at the floating on the PowerPoint presentations, but she is 100% right. Yeah, you gotta wait till after they mark it as final, okay? And then once they do that, then once the whole class does it, then you can review and give them feedback, okay? And that's why we say don't do these till they're done. Like do them down the line. All right, so that is the new stuff that we're gonna have to worry about. Now, I'm not gonna review this in detail. Crystal Furman from College Board put awesome videos in the AP Classroom. I'm going to show you where they are, and they're quick, right? 5-minute videos, perfect attention span time to learn more about this. But the 4 areas that they're going to be asked questions on are these 4 areas that follow. So the first one is program design, function, and purpose. And underneath this category are all these subsets. Their one question can be from any one of these subsets that you see here. And College Board is being tight-lipped. We do not know. There might be 3 questions for each one of these subsets. I don't know. All right. So when we talk about equity, they're like, well, how could they give kids different questions and say this test is still equitable? Then they're giving them different questions, but they're all based on the same categories. So the categories are program design, function, and purpose. And then College Board gives you a sample question. Next one was algorithmic development, and I'm cruising through this fast because I'm going to share where you can get the actual webinar. All right, like I said, I want to focus more on what we do to help you in our curriculum. Another sample question about algorithmic development. And if you actually just quickly look at these questions, right? A student has to answer this on their own. Even if they use ChatGPT to write their program, if they don't know how to code very well, they're not going to be able to answer these questions. All right. And that is why College Board does not care that they collaborate with a chatbot. And I kind of agree with them. I'd rather them get a really good code from a chatbot and then maybe be able to work through it and explain it and learn in the process rather than just, copy someone's work and rely on a chatbot to do the written response too. Errors in testing. Remember, we used to call test cases. Remember, we used to have to do that. Well, we don't do that now. Now they have a question about it. And kind of says here, consider the procedure, describe a change that will result in a runtime error, explain why this change will result in a runtime error. So once again, very specific things. And the last category, of course, procedural abstraction. And yeah, this is the big question, right? We're going to talk about the procedure if your student doesn't know how to code and a chatbot did it for them, or a student who does understand coding really strong. They're not going to be able to answer this. So let's not focus on the chat GPT and like say, Rome is burning or whatever. It's not that big of a deal. All right. Your students who are going to take the time to learn how to code are basically going to have even an easier time with the create performance task, being able to use AI when they already know what they're doing. And then let's look on the positive side, right? You might have students who, let's use our curriculum, for example, decide to do nothing the first semester of school. And then they parade into your room second semester. You might be just getting done with unit 3. They've missed all of Scratch. You know, how do you get those kids to do the create performance task now? Well, now you can have them do the Python bootcamp, use ChatGPT to kind of write a program, and maybe they got a shot. So we're really giving people more opportunities to pass the exam by what they're doing. I know people don't want to see it that way, but we really are making this more equitable. All right, so where to find these awesome short videos that Crystal Furman, our AP/CSP guru, made explaining all of those written response questions, all of the task guidelines, everything like that. In the AP classroom, click on resources and assignments, click on all resources, click on all videos. And then it pulls up like all those AP videos. If you click on the third page, and I know, man, we're going deep dive here, right? Third page, at the top, you'll see, well, not at the top, but it's somewhat in the middle. There'll be 4 videos called Create Performance Task. These are all updated, all right? New information. Watch them, learn a little bit more about what I just discussed, okay? But just remember, the course is not changing. The program requirements are not changing. The way we facilitate it and the way we submit our work is the only thing that's changing. And because we had to do that, we had to put Leslie to work hardcore, and Leslie has worked hardcore to improve our create performance task module. And what we're going to do right now is I'm going to demonstrate how to update your course to put in our new create performance task module. And then I'm going to walk you through and just highlight some of the changes to the assignments. Okay, so let's move here for a second. You can see here, this is our basically new create performance task module, and a lot of it looks the same, okay? We start off with our pacing guide. We have our introduction. We have review samples, although they're not useful right now because they're old and outdated because College Board just changed something and didn't give us any examples yet. And we have our planning document, which is still the same. And then we had to switch up the big meat, how they do the create performance task. And you'll notice that they are going to choose either Scratch or Python. Once again, we don't do both. And if they use Scratch, okay, all the students do assignments 1, 2, and 3. And then if they do Scratch, they will do assignments 4, 5, 6, and 7. If they are going to use Python, they will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, 1, 7, 1. Okay, the assignments are exactly the same. It's just different programming languages and different IDEs. All right, so that is the first thing. Now, the other thing you're going to notice is we are going to develop our program code first. Okay, this is nothing new. Students are going to collaborate together or with an AI bot. They're going to write their program. Okay, now when we start assignment 4, I always like to tell you that's when the 9 hours begins. Boom, they start there. Okay, 1, 2, and 3, those aren't the 9 hours. You're working together as a class. You're introducing them to the project. You're getting them comfortable. 4 is when we drop them in the deep end of the pool and we say swim. So CT4, okay, they're going to write their program. They get to collaborate on that. That's it. That's where the collaboration ends. If they're doing Python, they work on it together for 4.1, then it ends. All the rest of the module is done on their own. And then the next one that me and Leslie had talked about putting is there's a written response practice assignment to do. Why put a practice assignment after they do their create performance task code? Well, the reason is because we want them to do an assignment to make sure they have all the components of the code in it. So they write their program, okay? They say goodbye to their partner or they log off of ChatGPT, and then they go to assignment CT5, the written response practice, and they answer the practice questions. And I'm going to show you that assignment in a minute, right? Now they're able to say, oh, wait, you know, like this was the purpose, this was the function, or I was supposed to use a list. I didn't use a list. Let me go back to my program. Let me put it in. Because once it's in the digital portfolio for assignment CT6, once it's in CT6 and we put it in the digital portfolio and we mark it final, it's too late to do anything. Okay. So that's why we put that written response in between the student finishing and putting it in the digital portfolio, because we want them to make sure that their program has all the requirements it's supposed to have. And then that last assignment, CT7, that is the assignment that's going to prepare your students for the written response questions on the actual exam test day, okay, in May. So actually, I would recommend disabling that assignment when you assign the create task module, okay? You do not need to have that enabled. You do not need to have your students doing it when they're doing the create task. Save that assignment for after the create task module is over and you're ready to review for those written response questions. All right, so that's how we're laying it out. Now, let me very quickly here explain what's going to happen. I'm going to show you right now how to update our curriculum. All right. Now we're going to have to pull the changes, but then we're going to have to hide the old course and then reorganize the assignments so that they're in the right order. Okay. I'm sorry, I don't design Codio. Some Eastern European coding team does. Apparently this makes sense to them. All right. So let's actually take a look right now. And I'm going to show you what my course looks like. Okay. And I'm going to take you through the process of what's going to happen here. Okay. So you guys are going to see the show changes and the show announcement has appeared at the top of the screen. Now I'm going to concentrate on show changes first. Okay. When you click on show changes, okay, it's going to show any updates that we have made to the course. Now you might have some outstanding updates you need to make, but you'll notice Unit 0 needs to be updated because we had to update the CED, okay, and update all the new College Board CED things that they put out there. I have a programming with Scratch thing to update as well, but now you'll see here is our new updated create performance task. How do you know it's the updated one? Because we wrote it in English. It's right there. 2023-24 updated create performance test. Do not confuse it with the one that's already there. So we're going to click everything, check it off, and click apply. All right, and just like we normally do, we do our update and we click OK. Now, what we are going to do now is we're going to look at what happened to our course. You'll notice that, yay, it added our new create performance task down here. And like I assured you, because of our Eastern European coding team, nothing is in order. But let's take a look. We also have this create performance task module, the old one. We got to get rid of that. So if you go to the top right corner of your screen, we have a customize button. Okay, and I click on the customize button. And what we're going to do is we're going to come down to that old create performance task module. And you know it's the old one because it does not say 2023-24. All right. And right up here at the top, there's a plus sign. We're going to click on it and it makes everything into a minus. All right. And I know I got a lot of math teachers out there. We're minusing out these assignments. So this is a good thing, right? We are deleting the old create, not deleting, we are hiding the old create performance task. Okay. And now let's go down to the new one. Okay. Now we have to play the fun game of putting this in the correct order. But the good news is we just have to drag and drop. So CT1, CT2, so forth. There you go. And CT4, CT5. All right. And then we keep going here. Where is my 6? There we go. And 7. All right. And then 4-1, 5-1. Oh, it almost worked. 6-1, 7-1. And of course, let's put our pacing guide. All right. So it was a little messy. All right. But come on, it wasn't that bad. Right. We got through it. So we rearranged the updated 2023-2024 create performance task. Remember, hit the blue save button unless we just did that for not. Okay. And now you will notice, all right, now it looks nicer. So we got rid of the old create performance task module. We have our new one at the bottom of the screen. All right, there is everything. And then, like I told you, I would disable these two assignment number sevens just so that we don't touch them until it's time to review for the end of the year exam. All right, so that's what I want you to do. Now, let's go check out this announcement. Hey, Leslie was so forth thinking, right? If you didn't get to just watch what I did, or you have some questions about what I just did, click on show announcements, and Leslie has shared the tutorial video with you with her Southern twang showing you exactly what I just showed you, right? So if you prefer her compared to my awful Brooklyn, New York, Texas accent, I will not hold it against you, okay? So that is how you're gonna update our stuff. Now, let's just quickly take a look at what we updated, okay? And what you're gonna be doing with your kiddos, okay? So you guys now have the updated create performance task module, and we know this because it says 2023-24, and you guys are going to do assignments, you know, the whole module with them. But let's just start off. So the pacing guide, okay? First thing, our pacing guide, as always, is based on 50-minute class periods, okay? The 9 hours of coding time for that create performance task does not start until the 4th assignment, okay? CT1 is still an introduction. You still do it over two 50-minute periods. CT2 is still a review samples, and CT3 is still the planning. All right, so those are basically the same. We just made some updates to the content, okay? It is CT4 that we drop them into their AI or mammal partner, and they work together to develop a program code, all right? And you'll notice in our curriculum, we suggest 7 50-minute class periods. We then give them another 2 class periods to work on the written response, that practice written response, maybe go back and fix their program code, all right? We give them 4 class periods to do the artifacts for the digital portfolio, including the PDF, the PPR, and the video, okay, all of these things they need to do. And then we have this 1 day left for that CT7 assignment that I just told you to disable that you don't have to do during this module when you're doing the create performance test. So the magic number is 9, okay? The Beatles knew it, everyone knows it. The magic number is 9. So 9 hours minimum in class. That's what you got to give your students. And you could be creative about the in-class time still. If you want to somehow block out 3 hours in a class day, talk to other teachers and let your students get 3 straight hours of work in, you can do that, okay? But it's got to be in class, in class, in class. All right, so that's the pacing guide. Now, CT1, I'm just going to show you one of the changes, okay? We have updated all of this with the new CED information, okay? And if I go to the second page here, we talked about this before, the scoring guidelines, all right? The scoring guidelines that College Board is providing right now are just vague because they have to be. So we have the first 2 rows. I told you this is a 6-row scoring system, 6 points. Now, this will not change. We know this. The video has to show the input, the output, the functioning of the program. It needs to talk about you need to show the purpose. All that stuff is in there still. And then the program code. It has to have a list. It has to have a procedure. It has to have sequence, selection, iteration. We know this. None of that has changed, okay? So it is on the scoring guideline. The rest of the scoring guideline is just, for all intents and purposes, just blank, okay? All we can put here is that they're going to get asked a random program function and purpose question. If they get it right, they get the point. If they get it wrong, they don't, okay? Rando, they're going to do an algorithmic development question. If they have all the information in here that they're asking for, they'll get the point. If not, they won't. And then again, for errors in testing, and again, for data and procedural abstraction. So we have updated everything with all the most current, updated, relevant information possible. All right. So CT1 has been updated. Now CT2 and CT3, okay, they're not updated. They're the same. Okay. And here's why. Like the review samples that are in there, okay, especially the ones that we provided, you can still use the programs to show your students. The programs, if we say it's a perfect program, it's a perfect program. All right. But our scoring guidelines make no sense anymore because the written response has changed. So if you want to go in and use our review samples right now, as soon as College Board throws us some new ones, we'll throw them to you guys. But for right now, like, you can use our programs. You could show them to your students. They have sequence, selection, iteration, a list, a procedure, but don't show them the scoring commentary. It's just not going to make any sense. All right. So that brings us to CT4. Okay, like you've seen this before. Okay, so we provide the guidelines for completing the create performance task. You'll see what I've talked about with you guys in this webinar is exactly what's listed there: plagiarism, acceptable use of AI, the final submissions, checking off those attestation boxes, and then everything else is basically the same on how you're facilitating those 9 hours. Okay. And in here, in the assignments, I mean, we cannot be more specific, right? You can work with people on this part. And then when you're not allowed to, we'll tell you you can't. So here, you can do this independently or collaboratively. Your program has to have all these things in it. They go to the next screen. Here's where they do their program, right? We just collapse down the one side of the screen. They can do all their coding there. Here's where they're taking their screenshots, their screen captures, their video recording. And then, most important, when they're done, they gotta mark it as complete. Okay. We have made CT4, CT5, CT6 a group assignments. They have to do these in order. They have prerequisites. So you can't just tell your students, like, go do CT5, and then no, you have to do CT4. If you try to open CT5 without doing CT4, it won't let you. And then same thing, if you try to move to CT6, you will not be able to do it unless you did 4 and 5 ahead of time. And then the same thing for the Python assignments. All right, you need to do 4-1 before you do 5-1, and 5-1 and 4-1 before you do 6-1. All right, so this program is kind of the same. Okay, now the next program, CT5. This is that written response program that we were talking about, and Leslie does a great job right at the top. Collaboration is not allowed. Not allowed on this, okay? Look what else it says. You may not provide any feedback on your program code or your answers to these questions. So you can't help them with this part, all right? And the purpose of this, we want you to make sure that your program has everything that it should have, because you're about to make a video. You're about to have to be able to, do a written response in the future. You have to know how to submit your code segments. So you'll see here, we asked them, what's the purpose? What's the function? What's the input? And you guys have seen this before. Did you really think we were going to get rid of our great materials? No, of course, we were going to repurpose them and make sure that your students still use them. So name the list. What's the data in the list? Managing complexity. So you could see what we're doing here. Okay. We're preparing your students for those written response questions. All right. College Board might have it broken down into 4 categories. We could break it down into more. It's easier to chunk things for your students. All right. And once your students answer all of these on their own, now they'll feel good. All right, my program had all this stuff, or my program didn't. Let me go back and work on it some more. Okay. And then after they mark this one complete, then we finally get to CT6. Okay. Once again, collaboration is not allowed on this program code submission. Okay. So they have to make the video. The video is the same as it's been in the past. Same, no personal information, no narration by students, no personal information. Okay, it's got to fit into the digital portfolio requirements as far as size and length and all those things. All right, and we do our same deal here. All right, there's a funny looking guy in this video, looks like me. All right, and he will show your students how to make their program code document, capturing all their code. Okay. And then we tell your students, go click here, open that digital portfolio. Okay. And remember, when you click here to open the digital portfolio, it will not open in Codio. Remember, we talked about this if you were in my workshops. It's just a thing. It's going to open it up in College Board's website outside in a separate tab. And then, yeah, your students are going to do exactly what we're supposed to do. They're going to upload that program code PDF to the digital portfolio. They're going to tell you they did it. Okay. They're going to upload it here in the file tree as well for you to be able to have access to it. And then they're going to click next. And then they're going to do this video. And once again, there's a funny looking guy, looks exactly like me in this video, who's going to show your students how to make a video of their program running and what to include in it. And then they go and they put that and they upload it in the digital portfolio and then come back into our assignment. So if you've used our stuff before, the format of what we're doing is still the same. Okay. Now they're going to do their segments. Okay. And when they do their segments, that's the PPR. And then we say, wait, let's stop for a minute. Let's see, have you guys done the PDF? Have you done the video? And have you done your PPR? Have you done the code segments, the total code, and the video? And if they say yes, we have happy joy hands. We mark it as complete. And guess what? They just did the create performance task. Okay. Now, when they come in many months later, if you're teaching it, normal, but not that many months later, if you're teaching it the second half of the year, and totally forgetting everything if you're doing it for the first half of the year and not the second half of the year. But now when they walk in, okay, to do the exam, they're going to hand them that PPR to answer the 4 random written response. Now, our assignment, CT7, this is the one that you're going to do with your students to prepare them for that. So what we have done is we've actually taken the questions that College Board has provided us, for samples, and we've actually included it here for your students to do. So your students will have 4 practice questions, 1 for each category, to practice, to see, to understand, so that when they go in for the exam test day and there's that extra hour that they have to answer these 4 response questions, they're already going to have experience answering them. Now, is it going to be these 4 questions? Absolutely not. Is it going to be similar to these 4 questions? Absolutely. It has to be. Okay. It might be talking about a different element of it, but it's got to be about these particular topics. So that is our new create task module. All right. We are, it's out there in the wild. It's ready to be updated. I'm going to share this video with everybody, the recording. We will be doing another practice webinar for the multiple choice portion of the exam a little bit later, most likely in the spring or maybe in the late winter. But the one thing I do want to show you to wrap up is in this question slide that I have here, if you click on questions, they do have this performance task update sheet that College Board has put out here. If you want to learn more information about why they're doing these changes and what's going to happen, if you want to, let your AP coordinator know about this, they do have information here letting them know like what's going to happen. You are the AP coordinator. How is your change, role going to change? What are you going to have to do? So this is a good sheet as well to make sure that you just share with your AP coordinator so that they're aware that, like, listen, they have more responsibilities than just ordering the exam this year and just like having a proctor in the room. Like, no, like ahead of time, they have to print out these PPRs. They'll get instructions on how to do that. They are going to have to look at the PPRs, make sure there's no code comments on it. Some of these people might not have any CS background. They might not even know what a code comment is. So you might have to coach them on that to look for that. All right. And then they're going to have to print them all out, make sure the right student gets the right PPR. And then if they don't hand the PPR to a student, they have to make sure that student does not do the create task. So these are all things, okay, that College Board has done and changed. And now I'm going to give Leslie a chance to chime in.
Hey, sorry, I have a barking dog. Jason, one thing did not come over correctly. Can you show them the prerequisites, how to set that? Because those
sure.
did not come over. I just fixed them.
Okay.
So anybody that pulls the changes now will get them correctly, but they didn't come over correctly from the blueprint.
Okay, no worries, Leslie. So just remember, like we reviewed this in PD, and I have support videos for this, but you can go into your settings. So let me go to assignment CT5, okay? Because in order to do CT5, you have to do CT4. And if you click on your settings, okay, right here, oh, good, actually, it's not there, Leslie. This works out perfectly for demo. So you have to turn on your prerequisite, okay? The green toggle has to be turned on. And then you have to add the assignment you want them to do. So I would go to add prerequisite, and I would go into my new updated create performance task. And if you look here, it knows what assignment, right? It knows we're doing assignment CT5, so it's not a choice here, but it's telling me, all right, what do you want to make a prerequisite in order to do CT5? I'm going to choose CT4. You don't have to choose 1, 2, and 3. That's just going a little overboard. So you choose CT4, and then you hit select. All right. And don't forget, very important, when we do this, we're saying to them, you can't do CT5 till you do CT4. What does do mean? Do means whatever you choose here. And for what we're doing in our course, you're going to choose completed. Okay. We want your students to say, I'm done with the assignment. I now want to move on to the next one. Now, if for you who are experienced with this, you know, don't choose past because that means you have to grade it and give them feedback. We can't do that for the create task. And you don't want to choose started because all that means is they have to click on the assignment, open it up, and then they can move on. So very important, choose completed. All right. And then more
Oh,
important,
copy
choose
workspace. That's, you
and
got to
then
do that.
copy workspace from, and now, so the next thing you have to do is copy the workspace from the previous assignment as well. So that way, when they're looking at their assignment in CT5, they see the work they did in CT4. So that is easy because there's no other choice for you here except to choose CT4. And then you choose it and you hit save changes. Right. And then really make it easier on yourself. You come over here to this bar over here, click on the next assignment, which is CT6. Let's do the same thing. Add our prerequisite. Make sure you choose the right create performance task. And then for this one, we want them to do 4 and 5. We're going to hit select, save changes. And then it really doesn't matter where you pull the
Yes.
work from. Oh, I'm
No,
sorry,
it does matter. Yeah.
the previous one.
No, you want, yeah, CT5, the last one
Yeah.
you did. So if students, that's the whole purpose for the written response practice, is that they go make updates to their program based on the practice. They say, oh, I forgot a parameter, I'm going to put it in. And then the next assignment pulls from the last one that they did.
So they'll
So
get the most updated
yeah,
version of what
right.
they're working on. Okay. So that is important. You're going to hit save changes and don't panic. You notice it said none for half a second and then switch to it. That's okay. All right. And then might as well just finish it off. We don't want them to do assignment CT7 until they've completed their create performance task. But you'll notice since I have this assignment as disabled, I can't do anything to it right now. Okay. So first I'd have to enable the assignment in order to be able to add those prerequisites. Okay. So let's just make sure we finish this off right. Okay, we want them to do 4, 5, and 6. Okay, and like Leslie just said, let's make sure we always pull from our most recent version. All right, and hit those save changes. All right, and you are going to do the same exact thing for your Python that I just showed you in Scratch. Okay, Leslie, is there any other thing though about pulling over that I have to mention?
Hopefully that did it. Now, if y'all did not pull changes right now tonight and you pull them after we hang up, hopefully those prerequisites will get pulled. It'll have those settings correct. It just didn't have them until I just corrected them. So hopefully it'll have them correct now. But if you did it while we were on the phone initially, I mean, yeah, with Jason, then they weren't correct. So are there sample written response question and answer for a specific project? So
That's a good question.
That's a good question. And I think as far as I know I think the answer is no. That would have to come from College Board because they gave us the sample questions. We haven't created anything yet. I'm hoping the College Board will give us something because all those the samples, the 2022 samples are irrelevant. And if they took samples from the 2023 create task that just happened in May and the chief reader report for that, really that's all irrelevant also. So I think hopefully they're going to.
Yeah, hopefully, Joe.
like a code sample that they then answer those questions with. All we have right now are the questions and then sample scoring guidelines, which
Yeah.
are all included in that, which are all in our stuff. But what they haven't given us is, oh, here's sample code and here are sample answers, and maybe how those answers were scored. Either they got the point or they didn't from the sample
Yeah.
scoring guidelines. So I guess that's still coming.
Yeah, so that we're waiting on something like that so we can get some sort of scoring commentary and do something. Right now, you're not going to be able to have answers, but I mean, like, if you want to use one of our sample projects and then just ask the students those 4 sample questions that we provided, at least you're giving them the opportunity to answer some questions, even though you might not be able to grade the answer as well as you might want to. But yeah, and listen, um, they had a they had their webinar, I think, 2 days ago. We're done with our updates today. When they put out sample materials, trust me, Leslie, a few days later, we'll have updates to the assignments, and I'll put out a video updating everyone and letting them know that, yeah, we have samples finally. And yeah, so we're going to keep you guys in the loop. Don't worry about it. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box now. If not, I want to thank you guys for actually hanging with us tonight. You know, it is a change. I think it's a change for the better. It's really a big shift in CS education. The fact that ChatGPT and stuff are going to be allowed to be used now. Like I said, though, like, it's going to be different. Like, especially even in our curriculum, we're probably going to want to add more parson puzzles problems and more error analysis problems. If kids aren't going to really have to write code from a blank screen that often, I mean, what are we doing? So a lot's going to change in it. A lot's going to change this year, but I feel like we gave you guys a lot to do that's good. Teach this to your students that way, and don't worry about it. We will update you along the way whenever we hear anything more from College Board. All right, so I'll stay on the call for another couple minutes if you have any questions. If not, thanks everyone for spending some time with us this evening.